Good morning, Gardenia! Happy Wednesday. Wow, welcome to Adam versus the Man. We got an exciting show. As exciting of a boring show as we could possibly have. We got a great block of headlines. We got our COVID block, uncontained. We have an international news block, some heavy shit going on. Although good news as well, good news around the world. We've got a crypto block and a really fun grab bag. Because you know that it might be, gossip might be good for you. Yeah, we're going to get into that and more, but we've got some cool stories we're going to get into. First, with our producer, executive producer, Jim Freedom in studio, not in studio, because we have Mercedes in studio. We have Jim join us on stage now to give us the promos. And we've got all, I'm going to catch you up, man. We got all sorts of crazy shit going on here in Gardenia. But first, get us to the Gardenia Instagram page.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Well, first off, let's stay in order. Join the public Telegram channel for all the links that Adam was describing to you. If you want to quickly join right now while I'm going through the promos and scan through the links, then you'll know what's going to be talked about on the show ahead of time. And that's how cool you can be by joining the public Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the Man. We're going to have a contest today of some kind like we do every day. Somebody's going to win access into the private producers club, which is a level cooler than the public one that I just showed you. But if you don't want to win a contest, you can go to adamversustheman.com, a website that has everything. You can check it out. Click on the Patreon link. Support the show with $1, $5, $10, or even $50 a month. $10 a month is going to get you access to the private producers club. And you'll become a better patron. Once there, you can shop at the shop at adamversustheman.com, and all better patrons and producers club members get 15% off and free shipping on everything in the store. After that, you can go to Cigar Federation. We have a link for it right on our website, adamversustheman.com as well. You can use promo code Adam10 to get 10% off your entire order there. And so that's a great deal. Definitely check that out. And now for the long-awaited Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you can do a search for @thegardenofreedom, and you'll be able to see adorable pictures like this guy right here who has just opened his eyes. You can tell he looks like me when I first wake up. But if you want to see these,
that's Fury. You gotta say the cat's name because look how angry he looks there with one eye open.
His name is very fitting right there.
Yes. Well, we had a very exciting night last night. I think I have a cat hair stuck in my eye. Maybe a kitten hair. I can't get it out. It's weird. It was bugging me right before we went live, and I said hold, and then I couldn't find it. And I was like, must be my imagination. I get that. Like with allergies, I'll be like, oh my god, there's so. Oh, it's nothing. But I think I have a kitty hair stuck in my eye. We had a really exciting night last night, not just with Joey and Mercedes getting in, but last night while Pat and I were working on the cabin and I was getting the flooring started, and it was kind of an awkward moment. And there were a few reasons we didn't think she was ready to give birth, but Mama Smudge here last night gave birth to 3 kittens under the cabin. And we think something, might have traumatized her or triggered her because she also has had an interrupted birth where she can't. And this is a normal thing. What was the term? I looked it up this morning. I found it on my phone. I was like, I'm going to sound all smart like I know about cats. But no, this is a normal thing for, I think, interrupted labor maybe is the term. So it's actually a relatively normal thing for cats that have litters anywhere from 3 to 9 at the extremes. Will give birth to a few and then stop for 24 to 36 hours. And then have another one. It's really interesting. I won't get into any kind of graphic detail on this, but you think about like, geez, what if humans gave birth like that? It'd be like every human birth would be like Octomom, and maybe take a few days. But we had 3 kittens born under the cabin. It's really cold here. Like it got to below freezing last night, and the kittens were like about 10 feet in from the edge of the cabin under these rafter, or I would not raft beams that are the underlying framing. No, no, not the floors. Underneath the joists, under the floor, under the floorboards. Well, there's joists, and then there's bigger beams underneath. So there's probably another type. The skids, they're the skid framing, the bottom. But I guess on a shed like that, because you move it, they're called skids, and they're designed to move. But they're the bottom part of the framing, and it's really tight in between them. And they were only at that area about 8 inches off the ground, and I got a big melon, so like it was hard. Like I couldn't even see under there fully. So I had to dig. It was like, oh shit, I hear kittens, start digging. Well, we found them, we saw them, and had to dig out a spot just so that I could get my torso under the edge of the cabin. And then we had a paint roller on a stick, and we taped cardboard to it and made a kitten shovel. And had to reach under there and scoop them out, and they were barely alive. They, from when we even heard them. Well, Pat first heard them, and it was probably a good 15-20 minutes till we got them out. Kittens born on freezing ground, and it wasn't wet exactly where they were born, but it was wet around there. And I I wish I could have taken my time and got them out more gently. Or it was like, should I dig more or shovel the kittens more? And I was like, nah. But it worked. It worked. So I got them, and one at a time with another stick to gently push them onto my cardboard kitten shovel. We got them on and scooped them out and pulled them out 10 feet and got them in a little warm box. And we got them and Mama inside. And so hopefully she'll have the second phase of her birth sometime today, and we'll have a few more. But they are all adorable little kittens, like black and white and pins. There's one that is black on his front half and gray on his back half, and has a tabby white face mask. That is a cool looking kitten. So exciting stuff here. But then we had to take. This is the last part of the kitten drama, I promise. Except for me having cat hair in my eyes all day. We had to take Mama Muffin and her 5 kittens out into the main room in the cabin, and apparently early morning she decided it was too crazy in there with Joey's dog and all the noise and the new cat mama and getting kicked out of the maternity ward, Gardenia maternity ward. So she decided to take 2 of her 5 kittens to a new spot, back to the shipping container, like hundreds of feet away. Cats are amazing. So now we're like watching Muffin really close today too, to be like, is she going to try to come get the others, or can we? Because if we could, we're gonna. I think we're gonna have to get into the ship, right? We're gonna have to get into the shipping container and find the other 2 kittens and bring them back and put them all together and recontainer. Unfortunately, until the kittens are, I mean, there's a point for me here for them being outdoor cats where their eyes are open and they're mobile. And that's going to be like another. It's like 8 to 10 days to opening eyes. They're right on track for that. But then I think like one more week, and they get big enough they can go in and out of an outdoor cat house. That's
yes. In my cat experience, because they're not mobile, she wants to put them somewhere that you can't get them because you already moved them once.
Right.
So if you let her take them all in there, they'll be safe, and when they're ready to walk, you'll meet them.
Well, that's the other option, is we just take the other bin with the other 3 kittens and put them in the container and let her nest them out. But I want to take pictures of them every day.
Okay, but she doesn't want you to. You gotta respect the cat boundary. Cat. Well, just take your kids and leave.
Okay. Well, that's what she did. Well, last night also, there was a lot going on with the cabin. There was Miko, Joey's dog, barking and whining a lot last night, being in the new place, and Marilyn not getting along with her. And then paint, possibly the paint smell might have bothered her as well. But yeah, a lot of crazy shit going on in the cabin yesterday. Jim, you got stung by something. That's your cool story, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I need to borrow one of your scorpion killer cats, I think, because I got one.
You got stung by a scorpion?
I think so. It's so weird. I don't have any physical evidence because he wasn't around to kill or find. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning last night. I just like woke up out of nowhere and felt like I had gotten stung on my leg. Like it woke me up and I was like, oh, and I got stung by something. Let's put it that way because it's irrefutable now. But this is 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh, and I like swatted at it and I felt like I got stung again. So like I felt like it was under my shorts. So I like grabbed it, real quick. I was like trying to find out what was under there and I couldn't see nothing. I grabbed my light. I looked all around and all around for like an hour and a half. I couldn't go back to sleep because my leg hurt so bad. It's stinging like crazy. And I finally
Wow.
got back to sleep. But when I wake up, not only is it still stinging, you know the feeling when your leg falls asleep and you get pins and needles?
Yeah.
It's like that, only painful. It's like a stinging pins and needles
Right.
all in my
Okay.
leg and in my
Yeah.
fingertips and my tongue.
So why would you say scorpion? So this is in your house in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Why would you say scorpion and not spider?
Well, for a couple reasons. One, there's no like bite marks that I can find. I don't see
Oh, a
spiders usually
spider would
leave a
naturally like with a pincher double red spot bite mark.
right, and I don't see anything. I don't see any marks. I've been stung by a scorpion before, and it feels similar. The only weird thing is how it's going to my fingers, but I don't know. I figured like CJ said I was probably like rolling on him and he was getting smushed, so he was
Right,
stinging the
right.
fuck out of me trying to survive. So he
Yeah,
probably
never
put a
really,
crap load of
probably
venom.
couldn't get a good angle on you. Couldn't get one good sting, right?
Just kept hitting. But what's weird is not being able to find him because I mean my room's pretty like there's not much on the floor, so I spent an hour last night with literally a flashlight looking around every inch. I was
Yeah,
looking, I took all my clothes off, looking inside the creases of my clothes. Like, where are you hiding at, you
wow.
little fucker? Could
And
not
didn't
find him.
find anything.
Nothing.
Crazy.
But it hurts like a bitch.
um, chew spit is great for stings, according to Illinois 4545. So are you doing anything to treat this?
Well, I took a cold compress because that's the only thing that seems to numb out the vibrating pain of it. So just a frozen ice pack is basically all I do, and smoke a lot of weed. Ate a couple of edibles to get some, pain reduction, but my body will process it. It'll push it through, and
Yeah, right.
is what it is.
Wow. Crazy. I've never been stung by a scorpion.
It's weird. It's a weird feeling. I mean, it's all in Arizona, just so people know, the vast majority of scorpion stings are from bark scorpions, which are basically for most adults, they're non-lethal. You're
Yeah.
not going to die. It's usually for elderly. It's just like the Rona. Only the elderly and the extremely young with compromised immune
That's
systems really have to worry about it.
that's like the ones that we have here, right? That's the
Right.
common. They're very small, right? I mean, when they get full grown, they're like the one mama cat, Mama Jade, the queen, the I don't know what's the proper term for the female, the mother lineage,
The matriarch.
the matriarch. Thank you. That's it. The matriarch of the Scorpion Kitty line, Mama Jade. In the video where she caught one, I'm pretty sure that was a bark scorpion, and
Yeah.
like with its legs and stinger kind of out, it wouldn't have been much bigger than like I mean, it would have fit inside a silver dollar, no problem.
Yeah.
Fell on the carpet and well, maybe you
Yep.
stepped on it and squished it in or something, but maybe it got away. I mean, they are kind of tough unless you're a cat and you eat them.
Yeah. The other rule of thumb with scorpions, just a good general rule of thumb for people to know, the larger the scorpions, the less deadly they tend to be.
Right.
The really tiny ones are the ones you got to worry about. You know what
But
I
in
mean?
this case, even I mean, scorpions aren't really a threat to humans. Like, are spiders a threat to humans? A minor threat, right? I mean, like compared to like the flu virus, or
We can
how many?
go get
Oh, no,
antivenoms.
it's like now I got to Google this shit.
So
Like
there's
how many Americans? Because we know in America we'd have good numbers for this. How many Americans die from spider bites? So then we're gonna look up scorpions because like okay, so in the United States, an average of 6.6 people die from venomous spider bites each year. How many people die from the flu in a the virus which shall not be named season year? 40,000. How many people die on American roads every year? 40,000. 6 points. How many people die by cops? About 1,000 every year in the United States. How much time do we spend being? Well, we spend a lot of time being afraid of cops.
Yeah, we do.
No, okay. But
we can see the cops. Can't see the scorpions.
but there you go. How much time are we spending being afraid of spiders instead? All right, but now let's see. Well, how many Americans die from scorpion stings? In the United States, only 4 deaths in 11 years have occurred as a result of scorpion stings. So I was right, just on the scale here. So for what's I'm like, wait, what's God damn it? Why do I have to do? Come on, Google. Okay, 4 divided by. I can't do 4 divided by 11 in my head. Okay, it's 0.36.
Yeah.
So 0.36. Now, but here's the relevant thing. 6.6 for spiders divided by 0.36 for scorpions equals 18.3. And this is what I said. I said spiders were a minor threat. Spiders are a minor threat. Scorpions are insignificant.
Spiders are more of a threat than scorpions.
Yes, about 20 times more, according to my on-air live math. But yeah, that's cool little perspective there, right? That good numbers. And apparently for per venomous snakes. Oh, wait a second. In Mexico, 1,000 deaths from scorpion stings occur per year. You go just a little bit south, it's a whole different picture. But yeah, I was thinking with the scorpions, it's really more about interaction, but even then, these are like they're insignificant. We spend time. We're programmed like as monkeys to be afraid of spiders and scorpions and centipedes and creepy crawly shit. And it's like, no. Be afraid of the other monkeys.
Yeah.
Really, be afraid of the other monkeys. That is by far the bigger threat. I mean, even in the United States, you're talking about like insignificant things. Cops. And I know 1,000 people dying by cops per year is still insignificant compared to, say, like roads and the flu, which are insignificant still, not insignificant, but now getting on the scale of leading causes of, cancer, heart disease, lung disease, age, shit like that. Christopher Eakins, the worst spider is the brown recluse. It will eat a hole in your flesh. Right, but it won't kill you. It will eat a hole in your flesh. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. If you're sensitive. Right?
I've been stung by a brown recluse, and I was almost one of those 6 people a year that died from that because I'm an idiot. I thought it was right here. You can't really see, but I do have a scar right here because I got stung one night. Same thing, sleeping. I woke up and I had a little bite, and I thought, oh, that's weird, and it itched and whatever. And I thought nothing of it. I did the same exact thing I'm doing now, basically. And my body will process it, yada yada. I went to sleep, woke up the next day. It went from the size of a dime to the size of a 50-cent piece. And I was like, oh, that's bad. So I went, started taking some, ibuprofen, and I started taking a few things trying to reduce it. And I thought, oh man, maybe I'll fight it or whatever. I went to sleep again, woke up the very next morning. That thing was literally bigger than a softball. It was all big and swollen like that. And I had a red line on my arm right here. Yep. So I immediately went to the emergency room, and the doctor literally told me, had I given it one more day and tried to go to sleep thinking it would get better, I would have woke up dead. Because he said the stuff got into my stream. Just like antibiotics and stuff.
But it's a bacterial infection. They inject you with...
The venom starts to deteriorate your flesh.
And then it makes all the natural bacteria and everything around it it creates oh, wow.
And it spreads and it gets infected, and then you die.
So there's would there have been something you could have done like soon, right after it bit you, to have avoided the sort of more invasive treatment of antibiotics?
Just antibiotics.
Or is that the only thing?
That's the only thing that's necessary if you catch it early enough. Yeah.
So you just got to let the venom run its course, basically,
And see how you react.
and use antibiotics to beat back any potential bacterial.
But
Wow.
it depends on how much skin dies too and how your body really reacts.
Right.
My aunt got bit on the forehead.
Hey,
Well, the doctor was
Hey,
telling me
Tim,
the
are
problem.
you picking up Mercedes on audio okay here?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear.
good. Just checking.
Yeah. No, my aunt got bit on her forehead because we have bad infestation in Nebraska.
Bit on the forehead?
Yeah, and they
Like,
had to cut it out. She was in the hospital
with a brown recluse.
Brown recluse. Then they had to cut all that skin out because it would regenerate and show you scar and stuff. And like people with lost limbs.
Yeah.
It's there. I'm
They're
not a
gnarly.
fan of mini spiders, but the brown recluse and the black widow.
Well, the brown recluse, even with that, so like the worst threat though is that you'll get a bacterial infection,
And
it'll
die.
get bigger and die. But you can
beat
deal
it.
with, and a lot of people don't develop like Jim got, like a massive infection,
If you
right?
don't
I mean,
take
a lot of
care
people.
most times, more times than not, you have to monitor it. You have to be seen once you realize it's growing. Any spider
Well,
bite.
I assume if only 6.6 people per year die from this, it's got to be like at least as mild as COVID for most people, right? Like you got to like most brown recluse bites then are going to be like, brush it off and it barely gets you, or it only injects you a little bit. So like Jim, I mean, is this your understanding that you got a really bad one where it got like a full bite injection into you?
Well, I think with the spider, I think it was just my putting it off. I didn't know that it was a brown recluse that bit me. Same type of situation. I just woke up with a bite. That could have been a mosquito the first day I seen it, and I just ignored it and let it get worse. And the doctor was explaining to me, he said the problem with the brown recluses and the such with their bites is it's eating away at the flesh and everything. And if it eats away, what it does is eats away through one of your arteries or your veins, and then the venom starts going into your heart. That's
and then
when
it
it kills
becomes a
people.
systemic infection. Yeah, by the way, this was fun. Comment, go back. Waking up next to a scorpion on my pillow staring at me in Phoenix was not fun. What was the one before that? Someone said they knew a guy in Louisiana who lost a golf ball sized chunk of his calf to a brown recluse.
Yeah.
I knew a guy in Louisiana named Amos Moses whose left arm was gone clean up to the elbow because an alligator bit it, but that's a different story. Let's get John up here. I'll bet he's got some crazy stories from El Paso. That's definitely high scorpion concentration territory. John, good morning. How you doing, brother? Doing a great job.
Morning,
with the
Adam.
comments. It's funny flowing already.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Scorpions. Oh hell no. Keep those things away from me. Spiders. I grew up in Southern California, so and my dad had a shit ton of car parts, so we had a ton of black widows growing up. But scorpions. Maria knows a lot about scorpions. She's from Durango, Mexico, and they're actually known for their scorpions. It's kind of like Colorado has weed now.
Durango has scorpion lollipops.
Yeah, it's like right, exactly. It's like the state. Yeah, I'm saying they sell them out here too, I think.
Have you ever had one of those?
No.
I'm kind of tempted. Are you supposed to?
Make scorpion lollipops?
We could probably get you sent one.
Scorpion
I've
lollipops.
never had one. They're lime flavored though here.
Yeah, so I've seen these in gas stations even here around the Southwest. And it's like little, I assume what happens to the venom? Like, is it denatured?
You can de-venom anything.
No, so they take it out of the scorpion before they put it in the lollipop?
Well, it's all just in the stinger, so maybe
that's it. It's got to be cooked. And cooking denatures the venom, so it's totally just safe to eat. Well, the venom itself is safe to eat if you just ate it and digested it, right? But it's just if it goes in your bloodstream, it's going to... No, probably not. It's got to be cooked and denatured. I got to look this up now. Now I have to feel... I feel like I have to have one of these scorpion lollipops.
Maria used to tell me this pretty good story.
Well, speaking of stings that have... we got you if you want to jump in. John?
Oh, I'm here.
Still good. Go ahead.
Oh, no, she was telling me when she used to tell me this story about scorpions. There's this old story from Durango about a jail, and anybody who went into this cell, they woke up dead the next morning.
Oh.
So they started. So when somebody got
You're good.
When somebody got arrested, they'd put them in that jail and they'd basically give them their last rites, like, what do you want for your last meal? And the story she told me was one guy went in there and the only thing he asked for was a hat and a candle.
Trapped a scorpion.
Yeah. And the next morning they woke up and the next morning the guards went to find the guy dead. He just had the biggest scorpion you've ever seen under that hat.
The scorpion was killing a prisoner.
Because the scorpion was going into the cell every night and killing him.
Hold on. When is there just one scorpion? Like, wait, a lit candle and a hat, like.
So you can see it in the dark because it's black.
Yeah.
You can't see it.
It's an old fable.
Yeah. Okay.
Fable.
Because I'm thinking.
You just have to use your brain.
Yeah. No. But I was thinking this is some kind of. Okay. So it's like a story that they tell kids in Mexico to like encourage creative thinking and like, suspicion of the state.
It's no situation is unescapable as long as you think.
Right. Okay.
Like you have the light, you're good.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking though there could be some truth to this. Like so if the number that I just saw from Google is accurate, like scorpion deaths in Mexico are a thing because they're just that much more concentrated.
Venomous.
And more venomous ones, and so bigger, more venomous ones.
So
no, but it's totally plausible that there would be prisoners being killed by scorpions in prison. Like, I mean, even how many of the scorpions are real? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they're significantly deadly. It probably wouldn't. If there's only 1,000, I'll bet even the most deadly scorpions in Mexico, they're survivable by most people, right? Like scorpions didn't evolve to kill humans; they evolved to kill
cows and horses and
that were an immediate threat. Okay, maybe
predators.
All right.
So scorpions like to crawl in your bed at night if you're in the desert. That was a big
right.
Back when the cowboys came up this way, is scorpions in your boots.
Right. Yeah, but this is kind of like in this area. That's kind of outside.
Too, because they use it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but here with just bark scorpions. I mean, the other thing with a bark scorpion is if it's in your boot, you're just gonna squish it. Like they're so tiny and fragile. What? You're crying over me killing a scorpion?
Why
that was.
Would you kill a poor baby scorpion?
I'll kill a scorpion.
I'm saying, well,
family.
Don't leave your boots outside. But it's not even like for lots of reasons. Why are you leaving your boots where bugs can get in them overnight? Like, why is that a thing in the first place? Hello, dumb cowboys. Like, put some socks in them or like cover them up. I don't know. But yeah, I get it. Like they can go for warm spaces. Usually, okay, yeah. we got that. Well, speaking of unpleasant stings that have a statistically small chance of killing you, we've got some vaccine stories today. But John, you had a comment contest. You wanted to do the most. We're almost 30 minutes into the show. Haven't done a single headline. Got awesome, funny comments flowing, and we haven't even announced the contest yet. John, what's the contest?
We're looking for the most kiss-ass comment of the day. So if you want to win entry into the Producers Club, kiss some ass.
And I asked, like, whose ass? And it was unspecified, just any ass. Any ass you want to kiss in glorious, dramatic, hilarious fashion, I suppose. All right, John, keep the comments flowing. We're going to jump into our COVID block. Do I have, my bong is empty. I'm going to need Mercy's help here. Do you have COVID vitamins handy?
I'm empty too.
Your COVID vitamin bowl is empty. All right, Mike Freeman, turn Mercedes volume up, please. Her voice sounds like the coffee can is very small. Yeah, no, So Mercedes, if I'm yelling this loud, this close to the microphone, we are on a single microphone setup. There's no turning up Mercedes volume. She just needs to like really yell when it's her time. All right, we will take our COVID vitamins at the end of the block, and by then you will understand their importance. So without further ado, the virus, which shall not be named. Let's give out some misleading medical advice. All right, leave this comment up. This is too good. First domino, because of the Dumb and Dumber references in our COVID intro. First domino says, "What nice asses you have. You all must work out." And do you get how that is glancingly a reference to Dumb and Dumber, because there's that scene they're walking down the street and Larry and Floyd are they look over their shoulder and there's a couple and one of them goes, "Man, nice ass," and the other one goes, "Yeah, he must work out." Good job and perfect timing. I don't think you could have even done that intentionally unless you were a friggin' wizard, because that comment came on. I know, because before the references played on screen and John got it up as they were playing on screen. The universe feels very synchronous, in sync. It's a boy band universe kind of day. Aaron Houdini star, hashtag Kokesh for president. Thank you very much. Miami Herald with our first headline today. Miami-Dade's wealthiest areas are most fully vaccinated. Black communities are at 31%. Russell Monestim Noel, 68-year-old home healthcare aide from North Miami, tried to get a coronavirus vaccine for 2 months. It shouldn't have been so hard, Noel thought. Her age and job made her among the first group eligible under Florida's vaccine rollout, but the odds were against her from the start. Information was limited and mostly in English, which, even after 40 years in Miami, was still something of a barrier for the Haitian immigrant. Work did not leave her much time for vaccine hunting either, and every time she phoned Jackson Health, the only place she knew of giving out vaccines, she was told there were no appointments available at all, much less on the weekend. I called so many times, Noel said. Even though she knew her diabetes put her at higher risk for severe COVID-19 infection, she was also terrified of giving the virus to the elderly woman she cared for. Noel had practically given up by the third week of March. At the time, only about 13% of adults who lived in Noel's majority black zip code had been vaccinated. Now, the funny thing about this, like, this is a real like sob story they're starting with. So I don't read very many of those where I like actually read the story, and it's kind of like it's kind of thin here, the evidence for this, because in terms of actual vaccine distribution, what we've seen is a lot more pushing of the vaccines and incentivizing of the vaccines. It's not a pull, it's a push. It's not like people are going, I need the vaccine, give me the, like, no, people are going, hey, joints for jabs. Yeah, don't know. Like, oh my God. No, that was the thing in Colorado. Like joints for, there was a dispensary group or somebody like that who was giving out joints for people to encourage them to get. No, it was DC. DC had joints for jabs, I think. Probably in Colorado too. Medicine. Yeah, handing out that the good COVID medicine with the shitty COVID medicine, right? We have another story today. It's actually West Virginia offering $100 to residents to get the vaccine, and it's got a picture. The funny thing is here, I love this. Look at the picture. Jim, get the picture up with this story, the Miami Herald one, because I love picking stuff apart. Maybe she could go to Walgreens. Yeah, like Mike Free, like they're like maybe she's just has to get a free one or an official one, but they're out there. So, in the picture, Jim, get the picture up with the story. It's a black dude, older. It looks like an older black gentleman. He's got gray hairs in his mustache that's poking up over his mask. You can see his lips and his nose, and he's this frick. I mean, a freaking tribalist. He's wearing a San Francisco 49ers hat too, and this is apparently this is in Miami. So interesting character. Maybe he's from San Francisco. Who knows? And it says that the medical assistant Mauricio Garcia looks like an Hispanic gentleman from the little bit of his face that I can see here. But the patient has his mask completely off in front of the medical professional who could be the super spreader. I mean, it's just like the insanity of this. Like, really? And the look on his face, though, the black dude in this picture, he's kind of like, yeah, meh. I mean, look at his face. Like, what sound do you think he's making inside? Like, I mean, maybe it's just, okay, I'm getting a shot. I'm getting a shot. But the picture is kind of iconic almost of what I'm about to say the story really represents. Because there are so many programs right now to push this vaccine. It's not that we're underserving poor communities. This might be a thing. I don't want to say it doesn't exist. Of course, there was a legitimate rush to get the vaccine for some people, for the people who have gotten it. And it says Black communities are at 31%. That might represent the rush, right? Something like that. Of people who are like, yeah, I really need to get this as soon as I want it. I need it. Not just I need it for work, or it's going to make my life easier. I can travel. I can get my vaccine passport. I'm not skeptical at all. I don't. I whatever it is, who wanted it. Fear or actual motive, like legit incentive, like. And what I've said, and it's funny because we're gonna we have Fauci versus Rogan on today's COVID block as well. But like as I've said, the vaccine is not a super threat. Like it's you know, for the people who want, like, yeah, don't get it if you don't have a compelling reason. I'm not, an anti-vaxxer. What does the vaccine represent? Perhaps it's a little bio threat. Who knows? It may be long-term threat to your fertility, maybe some long-term, very minor consequences. We don't know. If you can wait, wait. But if you're not planning on having kids, if it's going to make your job a lot easier, if you're otherwise healthy, yeah, consider getting the shot. But do your research, see if you can get one of the safer ones, if that's a thing based on what we know. Like that's, but that's a minority of the population who I would say should get it. Everybody else should wait. I won't say don't get it ever. Don't get it now. Maybe don't get this generation or one of this generation of COVID shots. Maybe wait till it's safer, a little better understood, right? I'm just saying be cautious. But then I see Black communities are 31%. I go, Tuskegee experiments. Like
essential workers, are you seeing a disproportionate between race and people in the front line? Because essential workers, there
are a lot of confounding factors to work into this, and one legitimate way that minority communities, minorities in general, might be sort of legitimately underserved here is that if you're a nurse or a doctor or you still have a job. I remember minority unemployment, at least for Blacks and Hispanics, was a major problem in the forced unemployment crisis early last year. And so if Blacks and Hispanics lost their jobs, there might not be as much first in line. But I think it's more the healthy skepticism. Bill the Kidder, if I am somehow forced to receive the jab, I'm pulling my pants down and making them give it to me up the butt. That way it feels like what it is for both of us. I don't just, and again, there is this, there is a paranoia about getting towards forced vaccination. So I want to sort of make my position clear on that too, because I'm actually relatively moderate on this as well. Yeah, the government is subsidizing, pushing jabs, clearing the pharmaceutical companies of liability, and they are doing what they can get away with to get people to take them. So what's the limit to what they can get away with, right? The limit is, of course, the patience of the oppressed, or the tolerance of the oppressed. And in this case, if they got to forced vaccinations or a limit, like it would be, I think it's not beyond their capabilities, but it's beyond what's worthwhile for them. Okay. This is a better way of understanding government, right? Because if you just go, well, they want to do it and they can do it, oh my God, they can do it. It's really tempting to freak out. And there are a lot of people in, government skeptic corners of the internet who are going, the vaccine makes you shed viral particles, and it does. And it's a super new threat. It's going to make you infertile. And in the long term, it might have some effect for that. But that the government is going to get to force vaccinations. And if you're not vaccinated, you don't have a vaccine passport, you're going to go into a vaccine-less camp, or they're going to hold you down and force, and like that. The crazy thing is there's so much of a kernel of truth to all of that, and that there probably will be forced vaccinations, like if you're in jail, perhaps, although you can refuse. They'll say it's forced. They'll say it's not an option, but you can refuse. I'll bet in jails you can probably get away with refusing the COVID vaccine. Make sure if you have a family member or loved one in jail right now, let them know that just like I refuse the the TB test shot when I go to jail and get medical isolation. That's you should, and I don't want to say, oh yeah, that's never going to happen, because no, jail is where they hold people down and force shit on you. But if I was in jail right now and they were starting to give out COVID vaccines, I would definitely refuse, and I would think the most likely bad thing they could do to me as a result of that is put me in medical solitary, which is non-punitive. And you could say, you could. Here's the thing: is you could tell the medical staff in a jail, I have a pre-existing medical condition that makes me sensitive to vaccine. You can lie to them. You have no reason not to lie in this case, in self-defense, right? You can say, I've had bad reactions to vaccines in the past, and my doctors told me never get a vaccine again. Tell them that, and get as much documentation, writing record of that as you can. Whatever you got to do if you're locked up to not get the jab, if you can avoid it. Mad American, the elite don't like us.
I have a friend
indeed.
in Nevada apartment shopping that has been asked by two landlords, if he has the vaccine.
Landlords? Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. So, but here's the thing about this. So that's, well, no. I mean, if you're a landlord, like, you have a right to ask your tenants to do whatever you want before they rent on your property, and they have the right to never fucking rent from you. Yeah. But the thing about the vaccine, well, I know, Mercedes, there's a lot more tied up in this. We want it, like, and it's just weird. Well, it's just, but it doesn't apply here. If you say, like, if you were, now think about like this.
Someone if they have an HIV vaccine.
Well, if you were coming into a long-term care facility, an elderly care facility, and COVID is an actual minor threat for elderly care that needs to be managed the way they should have been managing the flu all these years, right? With a higher sensitivity to hygiene and threats like that. And so if they and in those cases, there might be a study that says the vaccine is appropriate. It's more likely a negative test is appropriate, right? And hey, before you come in or out of into our facility, we give you a blood test, and you fucking sit there and you wait 45 minutes. Well, prick tests for younger visitors, right? That would probably, I mean, from what I know, that would be a more appropriate thing. But if the vaccine is more effective or more reliable, then hey, require everybody who comes in to get get a vaccine. Although even that's like one of those things, like if you have a reason for your job, or like in order to visit your mom where she's in a facility, if you got to get the vaccine for something like that, weigh it out, right? Seven Sons, a great commenter, writes, why are they pushing this vaccine on people with a short time to live from other illnesses? Are they guinea pigs? And I that's the other thing, is like, from if getting the vaccine means that you get the risk of getting some viral activity that would be a stress that might kill you if you're sort of very, very weak or frail, it does seem that, isolation, and I don't mean like complete isolation, I mean hygienic isolation. It's not that hard to achieve. Someone in an elderly care facility can have complete hygienic isolation and still have a nurse who's been tested come in with gloves and a mask on. Still have family members visit with a hazmat suit, and I don't mean like a big burly yellow rubber thing, but like what do they have? It's like it's a gown, like
they have medical gown,
right,
face shield,
right. You'd have a face shield,
and you can
rubber gloves, and like that scrubs kind of thin fabric. And then you can hug and touch, and you can see face to face, even through a plastic shield. And you can have all of that interaction and physical. And the fact that they're denying people this, again, this is what I've said, like, bully us into hazmat suit world, and this is as bad as it gets. We can manage this. Like, and if an elderly care facility has to go to that level, we'll do it. It's not that hard. Heard of, buffaloed. Vaccines have always been used for nefarious purposes. There's obviously another reason they want everyone to get this jab that has nothing to do with this virus. Vaccines have always been used. I mean, I guess since vaccines were invented, but not every use. And I would dare say not even the majority of vaccines, although with the commonality of flu vaccines, maybe you would say the majority is nefarious in the sense of just being oversold. Not that there's some nefarious agenda, but I think it's nefarious to sell people something that they don't really need that is a potential risk to their health. And every jab is, every flu vaccine is, even if it's insignificant, selling people something they don't need, you're just ripping them off. That's nefarious. And there's been a lot of that with vaccines.
What it is that instead of giving people a choice, they're forcing it. Like my grandparents got the COVID vaccine because they're old. I thanked them for their sacrifice because if they died, then I'd know.
Well, I think we have the best kiss-ass comment so far. First domino, they could save the whole world if they put N versus the man into vaccine form. No side effects, stone. Yeah. All right. So similarly, back to another headline for Miami, NBC New York, Miami private school won't employ vaccinated teachers, citing debunked COVID myths. And it's like, this is, well, what's the myth? Because they have to, the New Yorkers have to tell those crazy Florida men, what's really up. In a letter to parents, Centner Academy recommended that all faculty and staff hold off on getting the shot until there is further research available on whether this experimental drug is impacting unvaccinated individuals. No shit, common sense. Because they're the rumors, and let's take the side of the authorities for a second, devil's advocate, because they are fucking devils. What is the argument we can make against them here to say, well, no, it's just rumors, it's insignificant, and all you see is that shedding might cause symptoms in other people, might affect women's periods and blood, and actually there's some more stories about how this is affecting women today. But like that's a reason to be cautious. And if a school, I just this kind of like, well, let's make fun of them because they're choosing caution instead of just recklessly trusting the authorities. That's a really appropriate reframing, isn't it? Hey, Anthony, trust us, we're the government. Tuskegee, thank you. What was that comment from D. Vincent W? I saw we had a big one on screen. Must have been a good one. I've been looking for a place to live for over a month. All the places require a vax and mask. That's because you live in the DC area, Daryl. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
It's like what I tell people. What do you do when you wake up in New York? Fucking leave. Same thing like with any major city, but especially like the Northeast big cities. This Monday, New York City, the belly of the beast. I tell that joke every time I speak to a libertarian event in New York City. This Monday, I hope to find a place to fucking. I was still reading to fucking live. I sleep on the beaches and so nice in the high wind. Yeah, Daryl, go west. Go west, young man. So private school in Miami says it will not employ anyone who has taken it. Centner's new policy directs teachers to not get the vaccine or they won't be allowed around students. Yeah. One mother said the whole year has been unbelievably shuffled for all of us to know what to do. I don't know if there's going to be teachers there. They're very pro my body, my choice. It's the complete opposite of that. And what she's actually telling these teachers, it's your body, but it's her choice. Well, see, this is the thing, and this is where there is an actual libertarian gray area in terms of application of principles, right? Obviously, if it's truly private property, you can do whatever you want. You can require whatever you want for people to come in and out of that property. Well, not out. If they want out, you have to let them out. But if they want into your property, you can tell them, they got to wear a boot on their head before that. We might make that policy here. Moose Girl, I don't understand people can trust the government. Sometimes it's insane. It's like they tell themselves, they lied about this, but they're not lying about that. Yeah. But when it comes to a virus and public space, there is a sort of social consent for what are standards of interaction even in public. But here's where I think the decisive line on the non-aggression principle comes down to for libertarians. It's like if you can, what is me assaulting you, right? If I'm within 3 feet of you and I'm coughing on you and you can feel my cough, That's an invasion of your. I'm putting my breath on your body. If I'm putting it in the area around you, no, that's not. And you have to expect that if you're around other people, being exposed to that mildest degree possible to the global human family petri dish, then that's always going to be within the realm of socially normal. If you want, and also, I'm not stopping you from doing anything inconvenient or impractical for protecting yourself. And this has always been the case, that you have the right to wear whatever clothing is necessary to protect you from biohazards in public around other people. You've always been allowed, well, no, not in California, that was a felony in public, right? There's something you haven't always, but you've generally been allowed to wear a mask or wear a clear face shield if you've wanted to. In a clear face shield, I don't think there's ever been any law against that. There have been laws against concealing your identity.
Yeah.
But wearing a plastic face shield for medical, being a quasi bubble boy in public, has never been against the law. So if you're able to, if the new standard is like, well, stay 6 feet away from people, but that's, you look at New York City streets, they're all packed in, like, that's not really a thing. And that's why, oh, well, you can fly. We can't stop the activity, but we can oppress you with mask bullshit. First domino, patient number AVTM 420AZ, anti-statist, intravenous substance of freedom, i.e. voluntarism derived from love tree essence. Yeah. Coming soon to a vaccination center near you. So in terms of policy, let the market decide. Let people set their own standards, whether you're a school or a long-term care center. And I think for a school, you go to sort of strict flu protocol, right? You would go like, all right, everybody's washing their hands. We have sanitizer everywhere. You're like, the alerts are, if you're sick, stay home. That's it. And do you take a vaccine that causes you to shed and might affect, like, that's never been a thing with the flu vaccine. As far as I know, I mean, please, someone look this up, correct me if I'm wrong, but with all the years of pushing flu vaccine as a regular thing in the US, I don't think we've ever had, well, you might give the flu to someone next to you or affect some other woman's period, or blood clotting as like a rare side effect.
And
as that maybe as a
look into that.
Yeah, but
flu vaccine side effects. Like my mom.
At least those have been around for a while. We know it's that
flu shot because she's allergic to eggs, and the main flu shot that they give out is based in egg protein.
Right.
So.
But does she doesn't have an effect from other people around her getting the flu shot unless she's like sucking their blood, right? Like, I mean, your mom's not a vampire, is she?
She's an attorney.
She only sucks blood from the unvaccinated. Oh, there's that. And then she only sucks blood from the unvaccinated.
Actually, no, I think she's got her vaccine now, actually. She has the COVID because the vaccine is actually helping with the symptoms.
Better kiss-ass comment, Samantha Allwood. I want to have your babies, Adam. It's probably a dude. It's probably a dude. All right. So on to more COVID stories. Bloomberg Quint. Frustration builds on world's longest border as Canada goes slow on reopening. Canada's Justin Trudeau has a border problem like his counterpart in the White House. He's being pummeled by his political opponents for it. Canada's land border with the U.S., the world's longest, has been shut to many foreign travelers for more than 13 months. Non-essential workers entering the country are required to quarantine for 2 weeks. The rules have blocked tourists, kept families apart, prevented students from visiting college campuses, and hurt trade-dependent manufacturers. Yeah. Well, we didn't care about you in the first place. Why would we care about you now? Now to Brussels for a more exciting. So we have some international COVID. Yeah, this thing's gone global. You didn't notice like a year ago. Associated Press, Brussels facing for illegal festival amid fears of violence. And I love this. We need more stories of the international resistance to this, because this put Americans to shame. Even so far, like, I think maybe it's hard to quantify, but the Europe, the resistance in Europe to COVID policies has been pretty healthy. Whereas in the United States, it's been, I don't know, so weakened that it might die from COVID itself. Hey, Daniel Hazewayne, and what's wrong with having babies with another dude? Nothing, Junior. Yeah, you want to go Arnold Schwarzenegger? We can do it that way. Is there a male who wants me to be a sperm donor? We could probably figure. It's 2021. We can figure that out. But in England, remember in England, we saw even at the beginning of this thing, Trafalgar Square, major crowds like Trafalgar Square packed. We saw in Germany storming of the Reichstag, and it was bullshit storm. It was like set up like whatever, instigate. But yeah, the protests were so big that police could infiltrate them. CJ, how does one beat wanting to have Adam's babies for the comment contest today? Yeah, bar's pretty high. Bar's pretty high. So anyway, back to Europe. So yeah, in Europe, the protests at the beginning of this thing were really intense, and in the United States, we've had people. I mean, it hasn't been as bad, like even the lockdowns here in Europe have been a lot, like they've been way worse. The lockdowns and shutdowns in Europe had like curfews, whereas in the United States, curfews have been relatively limited. Few big cities, kind of periodically, and not except in Miami with spring break and the partiers. I don't think we've seen incidents of them being like really brutally enforced. 1054. Everyone watching this has at least one atom in their bodies that once passed through the intestinal tract of Adam Kokesh. Just something random.
God.
Y'all are the shit. All right. Brussels prosecutor's office warned potential partygoers they should stay away from an unauthorized gathering plan this weekend in one of the city's biggest parks, as police briefly detained one of the organizers on Tuesday after an April Fool's party drew thousands of people to Brussels' Bois de la Cambre and ended in clashes with police last month. A sequel to the event has been advertised by a group called The Abyss for Saturday in the same park. In a statement Tuesday, prosecutors said the manager in charge of the group's Facebook page was arrested and questioned as part of an investigation into the party before he got released. And the picture here is, again, they've got cops like tackling a dude. There's no caption on this, at least. Oh wait, no, there is. In this Friday, April 2nd, so this is again from a month ago, right? The file 2021 file photo, police detained a man in the Bois de la Cambre Park in Brussels. Brussels prosecutors warned potential partygoers they should stay away. It doesn't really tell you what's going on in this picture, except that it's from the month ago event. And yeah, they sent clashes. It's like, wait, if I go and punch somebody in the face, are we having a clash or am I assaulting somebody? And go,
The other person
yeah, right. All right. So back to Europe. Reuters has this headline: German spies monitor anti-lockdown activists for suspected sedition. Germany's domestic spy agency is monitoring individuals who have joined anti-lockdown protests to decide if their rejection of government curbs amounts to subversion and incitement to violence. Wow. This is a story that, like, for most statists, I want to go like as a libertarian, I'm tempted to be like sensationalist and like wave this in their faces and really more rub their noses in it like a dog who's shit in your bed, but because they're really responsible for letting the state get to this point. But in a way, like as a libertarian, that's one libertarian in me. The other libertarian voice in my head is going like, well, duh, what did you expect? like this is really boring. This is not an interesting story to me. Like, yeah, confirmation. Well, duh, like if you understand Germany is a big country with a huge government, with lots of secret spy agencies and apparatuses and I guess you call it apparatchik, that are able to do, of course, yeah, what do? They suppress dissidents. Like, that's the point. COINTELPRO. It's like, all right. Healthy disrespect for authority. If you don't wear a mask because it's stupid, you'll be fine. Yeah, so that's what's happening in Germany. Authorities fear that far-right extremists and conspiracy theorists who either deny the existence of COVID-19 or downplay the threat to public health are exploiting lockdown frustrations to stir anger against politicians, and state institutions 5 months before a general election. So yeah, there are. This is in Germany and throughout the world, as we've seen. Uh, there have been similar dynamics around this tied to elections already. And remember, this was here. This was basically. I mean, can you say why Trump lost? If it wasn't for COVID, would Trump have won? Yeah, quite possibly. Not necessarily, of course. Patrick Lewis weighing in from across the country here. Gardenia, that is. I'll feed your cats and dogs, but I'm not feeding your babies. Okay. That's yeah. Well, you can milk. Hey, sure. You can milk anything with nipples, right? NPR. This is the headline I told you about before. West Virginia will pay young people $100 to get vaccinated against COVID-19, but only if you're young. If you're old, we expect you to get it. Illinois 4545. Got to jump for work, guys. All right, masks are criminal and perverts don't wear one. All right. Young people who get the COVID-19 vaccine in West Virginia won't just gain protection against a deadly virus, they'll also make money. Oh, gee, more promises from government. Sounds great. Remember how government has been so honest with young people, especially? Yeah. A lot of it could be described as, older people lying to younger people. Yes, we will educate you. Yes, if you join the military, we will make sure that you serve with honor. Oh, yes. You can trust us to get a college loan and it'll make your life better. Do I need to go on? Oh, yeah. Follow the American dream. Buy a house. Get a mortgage. You will retire happy in 40 years with a gold watch and everything will be peachy keen and you will, oh, no, with Social Security, we'll take care of you into your old age. And you'll gain protection against a deadly virus. Speaking of which, Fauci, this is like perfect follow-up story, theweek.com. Fauci urges young people to ignore Joe Rogan's incorrect vaccine advice. And really what this comes down to, so Rogan said specifically that if you're young and you're not, basically, if you're young and healthy, you shouldn't get vaccinated. That's what Joe Rogan said. Now, because you're at lower risk. Now, the thing is, they don't have a quote from Rogan in the story here. I think Fauci is using this to make himself relevant. Oh, let's go after the number one podcaster. And interestingly enough, they didn't take his podcast down for this. But Fauci replied, "That's incorrect. The reason why is you're talking about yourself in a vacuum. You can get infected, and if you will get infected if you put yourself at risk, then can spread the virus to others who might be at higher risk and could really have a problem with a severe outcome." So it's the don't kill grandma argument. And you go, well, the vaccine is only, some of them are only 60% effective. And even the best ones are 95. So you still have a 20th of a chance is bad. Anyway, stylish birds rather live under a rock and just deal with the spiders and scorpions. Good callback. Yeah. But yeah, so the Rogan exclusive thing, this relates to Adam versus the Man and my interview with him being censored or taken out of his archives. Rogan's show, the Joe Rogan Experience, is a Spotify exclusive, and in 2020 was the platform's most popular podcast. Amid the controversy over his remarks, The Verge reported that Spotify reviewed this Rogan episode and left it live because he doesn't come off as outwardly anti-vaccine.
Awkward pause.
Find who you can't criticize and you will know who rules you, right? So if he was outwardly anti-vaccine, then it would be okay to censor him. Okay, Spotify, I see what you did there. Reuters with our next headline, and this is, you might think, not COVID related, but it is. After somber tone in first 100 days, Biden plans to sell spending to U.S. public. And I go, wait a second. Sell spending. Like, Oh yeah, the federal government hasn't spent any money yet. In its 200 plus years of existence, they've been operating on a purely volunteer basis. They should really spend some money. They should buy some stuff. Maybe some bombs, blow up some brown people, maybe buy some vaccines, maybe send out some welfare. Maria Evans, my grandma got here from Mexico, doesn't want the vaccine. My mom got the vaccine. I hope they don't kill her. Oh, yeah, no, because there is that threat, and these are also the things we're all parsing out minor threats and ignoring major threats. But Biden, back to Biden, selling spending. There's so many, twist the knife and more, please. They think they are so arrogant, and it's not unbiased or unbased in reality. They really do think that they can convince the American people to support more federal spending right now. Like that they can, and it's please let's convince you to say, please whip us harder. First Domino in for $10. Hype in the chat. All right. Thank you very much, First Domino. Love the super chats. So salesman in chief. But here's another thing. Well, never let a crisis go to waste, right? The next headline related to this from CBS News, and we'll come back to this. Biden State of the Union is news worth covering. We're not going to do a live breakdown, but I probably won't watch it. I might watch highlights and read the transcript or something like that, because I don't want to give them more free rent in my head than I have to. UT 2388-1. They should put little scorpions on the vials of their We Care for You juice. Yeah. Okay, so CBSNews.com, Biden to call for universal preschool in first address to Congress. We have not yet overcome the arc that looks like us being slowly pushed into matrix pods. We fall more and more under government control over more and more of our lives as it grows. I think in some ways we've passed the high water mark of government, or at least I thought we did, but really we're still plateauing. And this surge of the last few years doesn't challenge my view of this overall arc. But and it looks like with some of this more scary high-tech shit, hey, government is going to decide what vaccines you get. Government is going to educate you from, at least preschool to college. It's going to take care of you in your old age. It's just the working middle class that when you're of working age, we're going to set you off on the farm and let you roam around, be as productive as possible so we can, use you as a tax cow. But this is the opportunity. With the unveiling of the American Families Plan, Mr. Biden is seeking an investment in our kids. And we'll lay out how it's. Oh my God, I got to stop. It's just that's enough. That's enough. But good news related to this, for all of us who have spent years making the TSA's job just a little more embarrassing for them, as if being part of that thin blue line wasn't bad enough by itself. The Washington Post and MSN has this headline, paying off for us. Ian Duncan writes, the TSA wanted 6,000 new officers by summer. Most positions are unfilled as airlines expect a passenger surge. And I want to sort of celebrate this, but it's not by itself. It's a good sign, but what are they going to do? They're going to steal more from us to pay TSA agents more until they can fill all those positions. Another $10 chat. Mike Freeman, let at First Domino have your children. Yeah, I see what you did there. Thank you. But yeah, TSA positions going unfilled. A lot of reasons for this, and it's not just that being a TSA agent has been slowly exposed for the criminally sleazy, grimy, disgusting job that it is, but also now with all the stimulus and welfare and unemployment money surging, it's hard to convince people to take a shitty job like that. Reason.com. Now here's our last sort of COVIDnomics story, I think, in our block today. Actually we have another one, but it's a women's story. Girls, actually. First, Reason.com. it looks like a lot of people use their federal stimulus payments to buy weed. Yep. Yep. Isn't it nice that we live in such a day and age as you can just track shit like this? As stimulus checks started landing in Americans' bank accounts, demand for medical marijuana went through the roof. Yeah, just the medical stuff. Just the medical stuff. The passage of a $1.9 trillion federal stimulus package last month appears to have coincided with a serious outbreak of the munchies. NugMD, an online portal that helps people obtain state-level medical marijuana permits, reports a sharp increase in the number of people who sought appointments in March compared to February. The likely reason, those $1,400 stimulus payments that many Americans received in late March as part of the COVID-19 relief bill, that really wasn't a COVID-19 relief bill, as they have linked to another Reason article. Mostly an expensive bundle of politically motivated giveaways. Yeah. All right, now it's a contest. Aunt Ralston weighing in for $10. Me, Adam Kokesh's babies coming to a freedom party near you. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. So here we go. But we got to go to a serious story for the ladies. I know this is unfortunate. And yeah, a lot of the discrepancies in medical care, modern medical care, are based on a hugely inherent sexism built in to modern medicine. And it's something that I've looked at in a number of different ways, but as one doctor famously described it, whose name, of course, I forget because this is just a random sidebar, said that modern medicine treats women like men with hormones. And a lot of the studies about medical treatments and pharmaceuticals look at men and don't really appropriately study women separately, as they should, and for looking at the effects of these. So women are really just kind of underrepresented in when modern medicine looks at how do our treatments affect people. And there are serious consequences of this. It's not the biggest crime in the world, but it is worth noting. It is something that deserves more attention than it gets. And it is. I don't think this is the product of like malicious sexism in any way whatsoever, but just a sort of hangover from men being traditionally dominant in the medical field. Just that more doctors were men, and this is something that is shifting as women get a fair shake in education and well, in some ways, women get a better shake or girls better than boys now in modern education. Right. Well, there are gaps in different ways, but in a lot of ways, it's been men dominating certain fields, especially in medical. But now it's girls being favored in situations where they give boys ADHD meds. Put the boys on meth. And that's really disadvantaging boys. And no, we're not going to sidebar on this anymore because we have a serious headline to get to from Haaretz.com. Women say COVID vaccine side effects impact their periods. So why don't doctors care? Well, because most doctors have penises. Coronavirus vaccine side effects. In any vaccine, there are factors that can disrupt menstruation. But the way the medical establishment has been responding to reports of this possible side effect reflects a broader problem. And I think this was sent to us in the Producers Club, because I don't have access to the full story, but the first few sentences, I mean, this kind of lays it all out. I think you guys get a sense of the perspective here. A 36-year-old woman went to the doctor after experiencing vaginal bleeding 2 days after she received her second dose of the coronavirus vaccine. It worried her, and her gynecologist performed an exam and sent her for blood tests. The bleeding lasted 10 days, and the doctor told me that it seems like my period came early, she said. I told him that's weird. Oh, so it's a male doctor telling a woman about her period. Of course it is. I told him that's weird because my period's been very regular over the past year. The doctor told her that it happens, and threw the offhand remark. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So one way that just this particular dynamic of sexism in the medical industry is seriously disadvantaging women right now and delaying what should be a rational response to vaccination side effects that are disproportionately affecting women, or so it seems. Today.com, why $3 million in unsold Girl Scout cookies are just sitting in Atlanta warehouse. I told you, I'll take them. Yeah. See, I told you, see, there was a girl story in here. But Girl Scouts if you can't bat your eyelashes to sell Girl Scout cookies, you're going to have a bad time if you order the same number of cookies as you did the year before. Local troops had to get creative this year and switch to virtual sales and drive-through pop-up shops. Who would like? I mean, it's harder to make sales. I'm not trying to like tell Girl Scouts to hustle more, right? But like, if I saw Girl Scouts selling cookies on the side of the road, if I could stop, I would. They should be at every intersection, like panhandlers and those guys selling flowers and oranges on the side of the road. But it's not working. Whatever it is, they haven't successfully adapted. That's it. That's it. Dispensaries.
That's the thing.
Well, in some states, right? This is Georgia. This is because kids can't know that adults do drugs.
Weed will kill your kids.
Oh, that's right.
Drink alcohol. That's all they
Weed will kill your kids.
Yes,
okay?
So there's a way.
So
this is all right, guys. We're talking about prohibition territory. There's still part of America that is prohibition territory, like Nebraska,
where weed will kill your kids,
where Mercedes chooses to live. And then there's Georgia. There's a warehouse in Georgia that's currently home to nearly $3 million worth of Girl Scout cookies, and is about to be host to the greatest stoner jam band music festival ever. No, if only that were true. And it's a sweet tooth paradise. But for local, yeah. There's my D. Vincent W. weighing in again here. A parable about a car crash where a boy and his father involved. Father dies. The dog comes into the operating room to save the boy. Says, I can't operate on this child. I'm his parent, who is the doctor. Oh, it's his mother, right? And that tricks everybody. Why is that? D, thanks for sharing that, because that's the old parable that's like the trick to expose people's gender bias. People are so gender biased that they go, what? What? Because their brains don't go, oh, the doctor could be a woman. No shit. But yeah. So yeah, there is a warehouse. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I hope something really fun. There's a warehouse in Georgia that's currently home to nearly $3 million worth of Girl Scout cookies. That's a lot of girls. That's like
each box is $4.
That would last me at least a month. 7 sons. Doctors take their marching orders from the AMA and CDC. They're not in the lab doing research, and I doubt that most are researching and analyzing the data. Order followers like any other job. Sort of, no, but 7 sons makes a good point here that you graduate from med school and you're kind of in an information bubble, and a lot of what you're getting of new medical information to keep up to date is from pharmaceutical company reps. Not actually updated on things that the AMA and CDC want to manipulate. Speaking of which, it's time. That's our block. Time to take your COVID vitamins. All right, let's check in with John, who's been doing a great job keeping the comments rolling. Co-host John Evans today. Did we miss any critical ones, or was the babies? That was definitely the most kiss ass.
Yeah, we definitely have had some good content with the comments. I gotta say, First Domino and Samantha Allwood. I mean, she came in with that one, and I haven't seen anything else from her. And then everybody started asking to have the baby. But First Domino's definitely got some good stuff, and then we had the comment contest where everybody just started doing the super chat. That was pretty great. It's been good stuff. Right. The chat's been a lot of fun today.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we want to go back to encouraging super chats, but we used to give away a producer club membership for people who wanted to make it a one-time payment rather than sign up on Patreon for the highest super chat of the day. So we'll see. Not today. Not today. We
definitely got some quality kiss-ass comments. That's for sure.
There have been some. You guys are whoever wins. Might have multiple winners today, but whoever wins will have earned it. All right, let's get into our serious news then on international affairs. I just called this block international. International news. There was some in the international news that isn't basically about COVID, but I don't know if there is such a thing because COVID is still this dark cloud hanging over everything. There is not, I mean, aside from shit you can do naked and alone, there's not much that isn't affected by COVID in some way right now, at least as a presence. Like, we all have to be aware of it, and it's still that. Healthy disrespect for authority. I'm in Georgia. If everyone on my street was invited to a riot and showed up, there might be 20 people. All right, to the serious shit. Wall Street Journal. U.S. warship fires warning shots. An encounter with Iranian vessels. Standoff in the Persian Gulf marks second in a month and comes as Biden administration pursues talks over Iranian nuclear deal. Now, I want to caution people again about getting too hyped about this. And this is where the analysis that we gave you just a minute ago. Oh, wait, Mary Jane, I dig Delta 8. Really?
Answering somebody's
Oh,
question.
okay.
That's a weird one to pop up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all right.
All right, we're gonna come back to that on Friday's show. We got weed stories. We'll do the whole Delta 8 conversation here, I'm sure, because we're gonna have CJ and Cash in studio, I believe. Okay, but to the Iranian standoff here, the same analysis of government is always, I mean, it's like a rapey toddler, always trying to figure out what it can get away with. That's a weird image, right?
Rapey
But no,
toddler.
isn't that
No, not rapey toddler. No.
is that too
grandpa?
creepy?
Rapey
Grandpa, that's it.
president?
No, rapey like a rapey
United
president,
States
Oh, you mean
president.
like a
a
rapey
sneaky-
politician.
You mean like
No,
a sneaky Biden?
think of like Biden. Government is like, why did I say rapey toddler? I could have just said Biden. Is that President rapey toddler?
You need to take it
No, but in that he's but see, the reason I say toddlers, there's something about children always trying to explore their boundaries, right?
Yeah,
whereas
push the boundaries.
whereas old men are just trying to get away with what they can. Like
You mean pushing the
government,
boundaries?
yeah, but government is always like prodding and probing and trying to see what it can. They will.
Like,
It's so like the reality with the way that, like, okay, so remember that woman who came out and said, like, George H.W. Bush Sr. grabbed her ass 30 years ago. Chad Daniels is a whole bit about this. It was like, well, what do you get? This is what you get for standing in front of an old man. They're like the creepiest things ever. What do you expect? But the thing is, like, if you think about creepy old, partly senile George H.W. Bush sees like a hot middle-aged staffer in front of him and starts grabbing an ass. If this was like, and Chad says, like, well, if it was my mom, she would have said, this motherfucker just grabbed my ass, not waited 30 years to like write a Me Too statement about it, right? He was making fun of that. He was like, some of these Me Too stories are really horrific and serious. And then for some of them, you go, how did you limp in with that shit? Oh, George H.W. grabbed your ass 30 years ago. Yeah, you're not part of this movement, really. Okay, I don't want to say that. Any woman should feel absolutely, whatever your story, be a part of the movement. But the back to government being the creepy old man in this story. If someone came up to you and grabbed your ass and you didn't want them to, you would at least step away or respond rationally. With government, we sit there and go, "Oh, you're grabbing my ass, huh? Oh, oh, that's a finger. Yeah, that's okay. Well, a finger. I guess that's starting to get okay. All right, now you're moving your finger around in my ass. And it's a little. All right, could you back off a little, please? Like, oh, it's not just the tip anymore. Yeah, that's no. Like, please back off. And then government just doesn't back off. Like, but that's that. But there is a check on how much government can fuck us, right? And it's what they can get their enforcement class to willingly carry out as policy. And right now, they can fool enough people in the U.S. military operating warships in a sort of information vacuum. The thing is, the information vacuum, they can't really get away with it anymore in the age of the internet, when all the troops have smartphones everywhere they go. So when they're trying to get a war going with Iran, they can get warning shots. We are following the story, but I want to tell you why I'm not as, covering this like I might have even just 5 years ago. Like, oh my gosh, they're getting a war going with Iran again. No, they've been trying for years. And it gets harder and harder for them all the time. In the destabilization around COVID and the ship blocking the Suez Canal and everything going on with Israel right now, like, yeah, they can get away with firing warning shots. But if they out of the blue more or less came out and like U.S. soldiers died or they killed some Iranian, like Iran wouldn't do this. Iran, because it's dumb for Iran to escalate and kill U.S. troops. It's really dumb. But for the United States federal government doing that creepy old man probing, oh, what happens if we remember they assassinated Soleimani, right? The general. So like that that they could get like Trump was probing with that. And there was a huge backlash. And to everybody who stood up and said, fuck this, don't go to war with Iran, and probably don't even assassinate generals when they're in like no. So like being responsible for killing civilians at this point, it'd be really hard for governments to get away with, even in probing. But when Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was killed in Iraq, there was such a pushback and outcry. They're like, yeah, that's about the limit of what we can get away with right now. That's the hand getting slapped away, when the finger is going in between the cheeks. U.S. Navy patrol boat fired warning shots during a confrontation with 3 Iranian vessels on Monday in the Persian Gulf, officials said, in a second high-risk encounter between U.S. and Iranian naval forces in the past month. The incident on Monday and another in the region on April 2nd marked the first in a year involving American warships. They occurred as the Biden administration presses for talks on renewing the 2015 multilateral nuclear agreement with Iran. Talks began in Vienna earlier this month. So it's not just probing when it comes to this kind of policy. There are obviously a lot of other dynamics in every particular situation. And in this case with Iran, is the United States trying to flex some muscle, and like Biden just goes, let's take a posture of strong whatever with Iran so that we can have more leverage when it comes to getting them back into Obama's nuclear agreement. Maybe. There are a lot of possible things around this that are the kind of things like you'll never know until the Kissingers of our day write their biographies, right? Ken M writes, Adam, Trump or Biden? My answer to that is I really can't choose between brain cancer and colon cancer. From Daily Star, China unveils Terminator of drones that threatens to make stealth jets obsolete. An array of new high-tech military devices, including a super-sensitive portable radar set that can track stealth aircraft and even tiny drones, has been demonstrated at the World Radar Expo in Nanjing. In a clear warning to the Pentagon, China has unveiled a range of previously secret military hardware designed to deter American operations in the South China Sea region. Among the exhibits on show at the 3-day 9th World Radar Expo in Nanjing is a device that's already dubbed by defense experts the Terminator of drones. And you go, wait a second.
Wasn't there a movie about that?
Somebody find Sarah Connor.
No. I'm thinking there's this new wave of drone fear, as if it's this like cutting edge thing, like drones dropping bombs. Oh my gosh, because cartels have them. We've had Predator drones for over a decade, haven't we? When did
like my son.
When did U.S. military start using? This is sort of like an interesting historical perspective, right?
During Desert Storm.
Was it that long ago? 1995. Whoa. General Atomics MQ-1 Predator from the Wikipedia page. The aircraft was first operationally deployed in 1995, and in 2011, the last of 268 Predators were delivered to the service, of which just over 100 were still in service by the start of 2018. But yeah, UAVs. Wow.
I hate that I was right, by the way.
Wait, is this the right one? General Atomics MQ-1 Predator. So they're phased it out because there's better shit now.
Yeah, we have other drones, baby drones.
But yeah, these are the ones that shot Hellfire missiles in Iraq. D. Vincent W.A.'s, and I'm skeptical of government that if they can give your rights, they can take them. Yeah, right. All right, so back to the military news. They're trying to now. They're at some other new level, but China is showing this stuff off as if it's the cutting edge. And if this is what they're revealing, whatever they actually have or they're working on, actually probably what they have and they're testing is a generation ahead of this. What they're working on is 2 generations ahead of this. I know, very subjective term, but you see what I mean? That there's a sort of generational divide by technology in terms of when it comes out. Drones are at the end really at this point. We're looking at new applications of drones and like the next development level of drone defense even. But who knows where we're going to get to with that. Also from China, futurism.com, China is planning an interstellar space mission that will make China the second country to leave the solar system. China just announced that it plans to send. I was like, solar system, it's a space mission. Yeah, no, because there was talk about International Space Station competition that would be within Earth orbit. I was like, wait, outside of, or okay. And now futurism.com is giving me pop-ups. But Samantha's commenting again, Adam, I wish I was an alien so I could. Take it away first, Tom. Probe jokes, right? So China just announced that it plans to send 2 space probes out beyond the farthest reaches of the solar system, and in doing so, become the second country ever to launch an interstellar space mission. Yeah. Okay, next to Australia getting cozy with the United States, targeting Asia Pacific defense, Australia to spend $580 million on military upgrades. And giving Australia's position and now being a part of the Aussie Kiwi bubble of where it's okay to circulate their mutations of COVID, there has been a battle, especially in the spheres of influence in the South China Sea, as China has been jockeying with countries there for some islands that if they claim the islands, they have, you get an island that's 100 miles out from your border and you have, 100 miles of jurisdiction in international, that are no longer international waters, but now Chinese waters because China claimed that island. There's a lot of that kind of jockeying going on. And so that the Australian government is lining up with the United States. Historically, not surprising, but big win for the United States that Australia is, losing its connections with China and getting more with the United States. So where is this? Australia will spend about by the way, Australian, it's 747 million. That's US 580 million to upgrade 4 northern military bases and expand war games with the United States, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Wednesday. You go, oh, really? COVID's a threat? Fuck you. $580 million on bases, Australia? Okay. Yeah. And then you're going to lock your population down. And they've been bad with this in Australia.
Yeah.
In an announcement that comes, COVID is now uncontained on Adam versus the Man. In an announcement, just like it is in Australia, in an announcement that comes amid an increasingly bitter diplomatic and trade spat with China, Morrison said Australia must expand its military assets. It must, or else expand its, make them remember why they need us, expand its military assets in the Northern Territory to be able to respond to unspecified tensions in the Asia-Pacific region. And there is a real sort of jockeying for power and control, but is there going to be some kind of hot war? No, we're going to look back on this era of militarism and military spending. It's just a massive, silly, inhumane waste that so much money went to weapons and having men run around in costumes and yell silly things at each other instead of actually helping people. John Smith, don't humans have natural rights such as self-determination, the pursuit of happiness that are inherent in installable, inalienable, perhaps you meant? We do, but not everybody recognizes that reality. Speaking of not recognizing that reality, there are people in the world who are truly wicked in what they want to impose on others, and then there are those who use that to impose their greater wickedry. Is that a word? Wickedry? It should be.
It is now.
Yeah. Vile savages. Woman screams for mercy as she is brutally whipped by the Taliban for talking to a man on the phone. Hey, remember that time we brought human rights to Iraq and Afghanistan? Yeah, me neither. Vile footage of a woman screaming for mercy as she is savagely whipped 40 times by the Taliban for talking to a man on the phone has emerged. The shocking clip shows crowds of men watching as the woman knelt on the ground, pleads for forgiveness as she is repeatedly flogged, a stark reminder of the Taliban's power in Afghanistan. Now, good news from the Arab world. France24.com has this headline: animated toppling of dystopia takes Arab streaming world by storm. Really, it could be that all the Middle East needed to leapfrog the West in statism and peace and harmony and enlightenment was internet access and one good movie. Alephia 2053 is an Arabic language animated feature set in a bleak future. Has struck a chord in a region all too familiar with autocratic rule and bold, bloody resistance. Released on YouTube March 21, a decade after the Arab Spring uprisings, the Lebanese-made thriller has already garnered more than 8 million views. Now, considering that it's a feature length, and considering internet penetration isn't as high there, and a lot of views on things like this are going to be people, children. Not everything has to be sexual innuendo. There are probably a lot more than 8 million views, and for any piece of media to be so widespread in the Middle East or widely viewed is hugely significant. First domino, us welders know how to fill gaps, so we are trained probers. Yeah, welders stick together. The 60-minute film success, okay, so not feature length, but 60 minutes, excuse me. The 60-minute film success is a testament to the growing popularity of online streaming platforms because of the coronavirus pandemic. But it is also proof that the movie reflects people's thoughts, says Ravi Swaydan, the film's Lebanese creator and executive producer. Everyone sees it from their perspective, and they see themselves and their communities in it. The storyline, set in 2053 in the fictional Arab state of Alephia, follows a group. What's Alephia?
I don't have a fucking clue.
It's in Aleppo. It's like Aleppo's younger brother, I think.
It's like
Diet Aleppo, right?
Less sugar.
Yeah, Alephia. Follows a group of, obviously it's a fictional Arab place name meant to allude to Aleppo and other Arab place name sounding things. Alephia follows a group of undercover agents plotting to take down hereditary ruler Allah ibn Ismail and his autocratic regime described as the most tyrannical in the world. Through a meticulous operation led by operatives who have infiltrated top regime ranks, the resistance succeeds in toppling the dictator in a coup and ending a century of autocratic rule. They are buoyed by crowds taken to the streets chanting the now famous Arab Spring refrain, "The people demand the fall of the regime," in the face of heavily armed security forces who respond with live fire. The movie closes with a familiar scene. Fists are thrown into the air as a euphoric crowd pulls down the statue of the fallen dictator with ropes, which is an allusion to...
When they did Saddam Hussein.
Yes, Saddam Hussein and Stalin, which is right. Yeah, it's not, I mean, this goes back to...
Powerful imagery.
We're taking over the... Change the banners, we're taking over the castle, right?
Down with the patriarch.
But specifically in the modern era, was it Stalin who had a famous... Stalin was the Russian... Stalin in the fall of the Soviet Union, and then Saddam Hussein with his statue in Baghdad pulled down. And then there it was a combination of an organic and staged event.
Yeah.
Remember, it was surrounded by U.S. troops, probably given ropes by the U.S. troops.
Yeah, this will be funny. We'll record it.
And didn't they? There was some physical involvement, like they helped with the pulling or something. But then, they had an actual crowd, of Iraqis in Baghdad slapping the head with shoes. And I remember when I was there, the head of the statue was cut off, and it was in one of the U.S. military offices. And, like, troops, like Marines would go and, like, sit on it and get their pictures taken with it and stuff like that. But anyway, back to Alephia. Swaydan says Alephia 2053, with its uncannily familiar-looking dictator figure, is a fictional movie, but it is based on reality. It is a description of social reality. It is not inspired by any single Arab country, but depicts conditions familiar to many across the world. The world has become a small village where the situation is the same in more than one place. Alephia could be the 23rd country in the Arab League, which is 22 members. The animation, directed and illustrated by Georges Abou Maya, is produced by Lebanon Spring Entertainment Company. More than 70% of the work took place in Lebanon and was done by Lebanese, says Swaydan, although it also received backing from Malil Arts Animation Studio in Angoulême, France. Though the movie is highly reminiscent of the 2011 uprisings, Swaidan says it is an attempt to break away from what he calls an obsession with the past. There is always a tendency in the Arab world to imagine what might have happened in the past, but there's also no theatrical or cinematic work that imagines what the Arab world will be like in the future. The idea for the film came from a question: what will the Arab world look like in 20 or 30 years? And so 2053 sounds really futuristic, and then you go, wait, that's only 32 years from now.
I'll be 63.
And so it is sort of a technological generation forward, and I don't think the film, like, it sort of, and maybe this is my optimism, in 32 years I don't think the basic dynamics of a revolution like this will exist, in the sense that we'll all be 3D printing rocket ships to go into other planets. Like, it won't be, there, and maybe that's an exaggeration, but you won't, we will be in such a fundamentally more high-tech world that this won't exactly this way. So, but that's what's fun about this, is it's set so far off in the future
You have no idea.
that you think about it in the abstract, and then you don't go, could this happen in 32 years? Because no, it's not. It's too specific, too far out to say this is going to happen, and it forces you to think then, and it's almost kind of safe to then apply it to the current era. 1054, pallets of bricks, pallets of ropes. It's all for the chaos. It's all for the tropes. Ooh, write that down. Wait, you already did. Write it down somewhere else. Don't let it fade into the comments. Pallets of bricks, pallets of ropes. It's all for the chaos. It's all for the tropes. Yes.
That needs to be an
Yeah, someone meme that shit. The film tries to express Swaidan's vision for the future of promise through color grading. The closing scenes incorporate a livelier gradient than the film, and the dim and dusty scheme that dominates the first chunk of the film. Says Swaidan, things can't always remain dark. What this film wants to imagine is a future that's not as bad as the past or the present. Lebanese cinema critic Elias Dumar called it a milestone in Arab animation. It portrays Arab reality, and its audience just keeps on growing. We're going to have to have a movie night. Watch it with subtitles here. 60 minutes. I might watch this tonight. G.I. Mary Jane, I feel a hashtag freedom anties. There's a P missing there. Selfie challenge in the making. Hashtag freedom panties. Okay. Because every vagina should know freedom.
Dude, those freedom panties.
That might be the kiss ass comment of the day.
Those panties, the boxers too.
CJ did a good job. He likes CJ, when CJ wears women's panties, he likes them really soft. WashingtonFreeBeacon.com. Palestinian president unleashes profane rant against rest of the world. Abbas says communist China is a cunt, tells all the Arabs to go to hell. Yeah, those Arabs are getting uppity. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was recently caught bad-mouthing several countries, including the U.S. and his Arab neighbors, during a profanity-laced rant that raises new concerns about the 85-year-old leader's deteriorating health. Maybe he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. He knows that y'all can't deny the truth, right? Yeah, I love it. He said, fuck the cunt of China with a shoe, specifically. So this was when asked by an unidentified attendee at the Fatah political party's April 19 meeting what his message to China is on the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party. Abbas went ballistic. Fuck the cunt of China with a shoe. I'm going to say that a few more times. Abbas screamed, according to an independent Arabic translation of his remarks provided to the... Well, because shoes are particularly for disrespect in Arabic, right? Yeah. Bush had a shoe thrown at him. China's getting a shoe in the cunt. That good for you? After pausing for a few seconds, Abbas continued yelling, and Russia and America, and I'm trying to do the Abbas accent. I'm not going to try. And Russia and America and all the Arabs, what's wrong with you? All of you go to hell. Yeah. So maybe he's going senile. Maybe he's just feeling a little gutsy. Maybe it's just maybe that. There is, to me, a connection with this in the documentary story, right? It's like, sorry, the Arab world is no longer going to be the bitch for the rest of the world. And it has been. You want to say like of industrial or advanced countries taking advantage of less so Africa, slave trade, Arab world, modern wars in the Middle East. Yeah.
But they're tribal nations.
Yeah, there have been periods of this, and maybe this one is coming to an end. Asia Pacific from Reuters. Youths in black, Myanmar protesters trained to fight junta. Chanting in Burmese their readiness to fight for the people. Around 120 youths jogged around a muddy forest clearing in the morning light in a video released by a group that proclaimed itself a new fighting force against Myanmar's military junta. And this could be a CIA op. Who knows who's paying for this? How organic and legit it is? There's no way we could tell from over here. But guarantee as we follow what's going on in Myanmar as we have over the past few months, we will be coming back to the new force training in the mud in the jungles. Wait, is this from First Samuel? I was gonna buy the panties, but I can't find them. Damn it! They're at AdamVersusTheMan.com in the store. Yeah, the local.fr. If we knew how to protest, workers at French Renault plant, that's the auto manufacturer, held bosses hostage for 12 hours in sale dispute. I wonder how forceful this was. Workers at a Renault car parts factory in northwest France held 7 managers against their will for some 12 hours on Tuesday in an attempt to prevent the plant being sold, the company and union rep said. The move was the latest in a long line of so-called boss napping incidents in which executives are prevented from going home by French trade union activists as part of strong-arm negotiating tactics. I bet these are the politest, friendliest kidnappings in there, but this is really interesting. Yeah, right. No, well, they do it at work. It's like, hey, dude, you're staying at work today because we don't like what's happening here. We're the union, and go to the break room and get your food. Whatever. I don't know. You got your phone and stuff like that. It's not like strong. It's holding them at work, like blocking a door from someone exiting their place of work has got to be among the mildest forms of kidnapping, right? And it was only for 12 hours. It's sort of like a symbolic protest, like we're gonna make your life a pain in the ass and then let you go. But they're stepping it up. It's kind of like, all right, we'd be grateful you're not getting tarred and feathered. Right?
That happened while I was welding. I worked a 14-hour shift in a factory welding.
Ooh. All right. Well,
OSHA regulation says that if you work anything over 12, they have to feed, or 13, they have to feed you legally. So we got pizza.
Of course.
Thanks for working 14 hours.
Nice. All right. To ZeroHedge.com. We haven't heard enough from them lately. By Tyler Durden. Japan decides to dump 1 million tons of radioactive Fukushima water into the Pacific. IAEA approves. We live in a bizarre world, one where the Keystone XL pipeline must be shut in case of a hypothetical and extremely unlikely leak. But where Japan is allowed to dump over 1 million tons of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. Actually, it's either bizarre or simply exposing just how profoundly hypocritical, self-serving, and corrupt the ESG/Green/Greta Thunberg theater truly is. Last week, we wrote that 10 years after the Fukushima disaster, Japan had finally come clean and admitted that it is unavoidable that it would have to dump radioactive Fukushima water in the Pacific Ocean. Fast forward to today, when moments ago Kyoto confirmed what we already knew. The Japanese government decided to release treated radioactive water accumulating at the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the sea, having determined it poses no safety concerns to humans or the environment, despite worries of local fishermen and neighboring countries. I hate to say, well, no need to cover this further, really, since we'll find out sooner or later just how bad this might be for the environment. But I go, if you got it all contained, why not just keep it there indefinitely if there's any risk to the ocean? Maybe that's it. They look at it and I go, okay, well, there's some cost of storing it, even if it's just monitoring and security for it. And there's got to be some cost. I mean, but why not just say, well, when they leak, they leak. Once they're below, no, listen. Once they're below a threshold of harm, we're not going to invest in keeping them up. No, there's an appropriate market balance point, right? Of how much effort, how many resources go into isolating this environmental disaster and even holding that water, but this is the government, so I don't trust them striking. Either they stole way too much fucking money from the people of Japan to keep this facility going and overbuild, or they are trying to cut corners now and are letting it go. And yeah, all these containers got to be melted down and recycled because there's a ton of them. It's a big industrial effort. It's not insignificant. Look at the scope of this thing. So I'm just praying that it's the former rather than the latter, and that they've spent too much on the isolation, and that the water really is relatively safe, that the radioactivity level has gone down to, baseline amounts, what would be in the environment. But even then, it's like you leave it in the tanks. I don't know. I'm not a nuclear scientist, obviously. Mike Freeman, let's argue over who radiated who. Yeah.
My question is that Chernobyl, we've studied it. There's been bacteria that's come about because life prevails, where it's eating nuclear material. Why are we not?
Yeah. Well, there's with
investigating
Fukushima, there's so
further?
much out already. Remember, like
But if
it's
we can
also there's
introduce
also
something that's eating the radiation so it cleans up the environment without polluting the water. Why?
oh,
are we
there's that
not?
too. Right. So we could, well, yeah, if it wasn't for government, we'd probably have
Why
engineered
are
our
scientists
way
not
out of this
having each
situation in
other?
the first place. Yeah, right. Because government sponsors them and then isolates them.
And then puts them in America.
All right, we got a quick crypto block today from decrypt.co. Mark Cuban, Dogecoin growth limited by Robinhood's withdrawal policy. I didn't know that like there's a big chunk of Doge being traded.
Yeah.
It's on Robinhood.
Yeah.
Robinhood does crypto. Like
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
like that's like getting health food at Walmart.
Walmart has
Really,
a
like
section.
yeah, but okay, so I do it too. I shop for food, but like I don't go to. I take it to. Okay, so I'm so guilty and so hypocritical with that analogy.
Yeah.
But no, I get some food from Walmart. But I take a ton of vitamins, and I don't buy my vitamins from Walmart. Like, okay, that's it's like getting your vitamins from Walmart to say, okay. But economically, that's the equivalent. Get Dogecoin from Robinhood, which is a major corporate stock trader, more than crypto trader when they're crypto exchanges.
A dream catcher from Walmart.
Yeah, that's yeah, all right. Anyway, the billionaire investor and Doge enthusiast called out the mobile trading app at Robinhood, says it's working on a solution. Sure is. Okay, Forbes.com. Here are the top stocks riding the crypto wave and dramatically outperforming the market. Yeah, as cryptocurrencies rebound from a massive $300 billion flash crash this month, not like coming down from an incredible peak. Goldman Sachs analysts have lasered in on a growing crop of publicly traded companies that are highly exposed to blockchain and cryptocurrencies and have dramatically outperformed the broader stock market as a result. They're not without a taste of crypto's unyielding volatility. So, in a note to clients Tuesday morning, Goldman Sachs analysts identified 19 U.S. stocks with market capitalization over $1 billion that have the highest blockchain and crypto exposure, according to public disclosures, and found that the companies have averaged a 43% return this year, more than 3 times the S&P's 13% gain over the same period. The reason I think this is so important and significant to the evolution of crypto, the strengthening of crypto getting to the point of pushing out fiat, is that now it's got institutional momentum. I shouldn't say now it's got, because it's been building for some time, but this and this attention to it and this recognition of it seems like an arrival for crypto, like a certain critical mass of institutional momentum where it's going to be really hard. And I don't want to get too optimistic, because the people behind the Federal Reserve, they not only have the best mathematicians money can buy, they also have the best militaries, spies, and saboteurs. And if they want, they're in like we covered the crypto exchange, the Turkish crypto exchange that went down with about $2 billion on it recently. And they're calling it an exit scam, right? Like it shuts down and all the crypto ends up going to one person's wallet. Shocking, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how hard would it be for government to send people or the Federal Reserve to send infiltrators into the ranks of those companies to get trusted long enough? I mean, I'll bet as soon as crypto came up, that's what they started doing, sending the spies in. Aunt Ralston missed 30 minutes because work sucked. Yeah, all right. So finally, MarketWatch.com, Disaster Girl makes over $430. I was like, oh, that's what that meme is called. Makes over $430 selling the NFT of her meme. And I think this is, again, I'm still skeptical. I think this is crypto people just trying to come up with clever ways to give away crypto to make it seem more significant. And they're preying on people's sentimentality. But you can own the disaster girl photo now. Actually, I thought so. It's the girl smiling with a house burning down behind her, smiling slyly. I thought that was like photoshopped in.
No,
That's a real. It's, yeah, and you go, oh yeah, the light. Yeah, that's a real picture. Zoe Roth was 4 when her amateur photographer father took the iconic picture, which featured local firefighters putting out a planned, controlled fire. That's why she's not evil. In January 2005, or just smile. I mean, it would be funny if like she was outside being comforted, and someone made her smile, and they got this picture. Like, it would still be okay, right? But better story that it was a controlled fire, and this was for an emotion capture contest, and of course has now become an internet legend worth $430,000. Studyfinds.org. Now we have that story I teased earlier, but I don't think we have time to get into this. We might have to save this. Spread the word. Gossip can actually be good for you. We might have to come back to that on Friday as a good news story and human optimization. 2 quick police state stories here, though. From News Channel 8, police video shows man died after police pinned him down. This is San Francisco police in Northern California city of Alameda released body cam footage late Tuesday that shows this. And this is obviously happening from before the Floyd verdict, but after the Floyd incident. Very interesting timing. Also, black sheriff in Georgia from NPR, and they don't say that he's black, but that's like, oh, wow, they got it in the picture front and center. Georgia sheriff indicted on federal charges that he used restraint chair to punish. He was an evil asshole. Yeah. Black people in power can be evil assholes too. We are an equal opportunity oppression country. It's not about the color of your skin. It's about the corruption of your character. And with that, let's get John Evans back up here to give us our contest winner and wrap up today's show. John, any final thoughts? Who's our contest winner? You're muted. You're muted. You're still muted. I can't hear you. Can you
hear me now?
Now you're good. Now we got you.
Sorry
What's
about
your shirt say?
I think it says be kind to one another.
Oh, but it's got a green something that your green screen is picking up. That looks really cool, actually.
Oh, that does look kind of cool. I didn't even see that.
Because it's a rainbow. Be kind. I love it. I love it. So yes. Who's our winner today?
We're definitely going to go with First Domino. Let me go back to this. Here.
All right. Congratulations, First Domino. John, we're in a hurry to wrap up here, though. You got your smoke with you?
Oh, yeah. Let's do this.
All right. And Jim on screen and Mercedes in the background.
Yep.
My bad. I was a little slow on the draw there, but I got her done.
Congratulations to the First Domino. John, any final thoughts?
You know, the only thing I can think of was first page of a book I read about a man who burned books. If they give you ruled paper, write the other way.
Love it. Thank you so much. Great job with the comments today. Congratulations to First Domino. Jim, take us home with the promos.
You got it. Let's go a lightning round. First, if you hadn't heard, join the public Telegram channel. We got t.me. Excuse me. Let me start over. t.me/Adam versus the man. That's our public Telegram channel. You can join it if you want to be cool like First Domino, who, by the way, should email me, jim@thefreedomline.com. I'll get you hooked up with your prize there, your access to the Producers Club. And if you want to be cool like him, you can always, once you're a member of the Producers Club, you can go to adamversustheman.com. There was some talk about how to get the panties. This is where you would get them, the Freedom Panties, adamversustheman.com. And if you're a Producers Club member or better patron, you can shop at the shop, and you'll get 15% off and free shipping for those Freedom Panties. After that, visit the Instagram at the Garden of Freedom to see all the new pictures. Adam finally uploaded a new picture of the kitten out there. He's going to have more to come. So at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram is where you can check out that. The Crypto Six.
I didn't even take pictures last night of the shovel kittens. That's what they're calling these first 3. They are the shovel kittens of Gardenia.
Scorpions.
they
Yeah.
were rescued by improvised cardboard kitten
Maybe
shovel.
we don't.
See, Adam, one thing, a
I
side
can-
note here, something that you should
They're strong.
consider,
They're nursing
something that
them.
you something that you should consider so you don't miss things like that. You know how you have your headlamp that is for walking around at night. You need something like that with a GoPro on it. That way, anytime you do anything like that, whip a GoPro on it, turn it on, then go save some kittens. Then you got
All
great
right.
viral
All
footage
right.
of it.
Let's
You
do
know
it.
what I mean?
Let's do it. All right.
Just
Thank
a
you, Jim.
thought.
Great show today.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it. Great work. On this day in history from goodnewsnetwork.org, it was on this day in 1967 that Muhammad Ali refused induction into the U.S. Army and was later stripped of his boxing title because of it. And with that, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.